Stay calm. Do not panic. Do not run. Do not run. Stay calm.
They took your mom? Really appreciate you rolling up. We have got to talk about this raid on a cannabis factory, a marijuana factory in California that Gavin Newsom has tried to play for political purposes, and it is utterly backfiring in his face because what Gavin Newsom didn't predict, or what he didn't clearly care about, was that this cannabis factory, while employing a lot of illegals, was employing, and I put that in air quotes, minor children. They had minor children working as essentially slaves in this cannabis factory. They may have been paying him, but they are clearly under the age to be able to work in a factory setting. They are not allowed to be there. And come to find out, they were trafficked children. This is getting absolutely massive airplay. Check this out from Paul Zapula, because Gavin Newsom posted that video. The video you just saw was posted by Gavin Newsom trying to generate sympathy for illegals and ire against ICE. And it started to work, but then people started weighing in with the fact that on Thursday night, check this out, Gavin Newsom, here we go. This is from Paul Zapula. Gavin Newsom posted a video of illegals in California who were using children to work on an illegal marijuana farm. If you worked where the human traffickers ended up transporting children who were lost on the border, chances are it was here in Camarillo. This is one place. Remember, there are over 500,000 missing children that were trafficked across the border, unaccompanied, not by parents, but by traffickers, coyotes, you name it. And the Biden administration didn't care. They let those children in. It didn't matter. They were not with their parents. They were clearly being trafficked. They were clearly being sold into some type of indentured servitude / slavery / sexual exploitation. Biden administration, Kamala Harris, the Democrats didn't care because they are all in for the globalist destruction of America. Now, just to remind everybody, just where this all started, don't forget these images that came out of the Biden administration and the Biden open border, which Donald Trump has completely closed. Last month at the border, there were some 200 encounters with illegals crossing the border, and 0 of them were released into the United States. Every single one of them was sent packing at the border back to their home country. None of them were allowed in. And that number is down from 10,000 encounters at the height of the Joe Biden presidency in a single month, with basically all of them being allowed into the United States. But check this out, just so everybody remembers, this is what was going on during the Biden administration at the border.
¿Con quién viene? ¿Ese niño de quién es? ¿Por qué viene dormido así ese niño?
Ah, se durmió.
A ver, levántalo.
Hola. Levántate. Levántate. Levántate, papá. Dormido viene.
Levántalo.
Levántate. Papá, aquí, güey. Va. Estaba dormido. Venía. Sí, dormido venía.
¿A qué estado te diriges?
¿Eh?
¿De dónde vienes?
De Guatemala.
¿De Guatemala? ¿A qué estado vas?
A Denver, Colorado.
¿Que viene el niño solo? ¿Y la mamá?
No, yo soy el papá.
¿Pero por dónde está la mamá?
En Guatemala.
¿Cuántos años tiene el niño?
Año y medio.
¿Y cuándo nació?
Él nació el 29 de junio.
¿De qué año?
Del 29 de junio del del 2023, creo.
All right. So clearly, this quote unquote father didn't even know the birth date of his child. Clearly, that child was drugged. Clearly, that child was trafficked. This was going on under the Biden-Kamala Harris border for 4 years, which is why we have 500,000. The numbers vary a little bit. I've heard numbers north of 350,000. Some people say 500,000, but somewhere in the realm of 350 to 500,000 missing children that were trafficked into the United States and that were sold into indentured servitude. And so Gavin Newsom figured that he would make some hay by showing illegals running from ICE when they raided a marijuana factory. And he talks about the fact that he tried to portray, your mother was taken. That child was clearly a minor. Now, that person may have been actually old enough to work if he had the right paperwork. Maybe, but it doesn't look like it. He looks like he's about 15. Meanwhile, you've got minor children. You got them in the video running, kids, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old running. These children were not accompanied. These children were trafficked children. Check this out, because we always bring the receipts.
After the worst, MS-13 gang members, Trende Aragua, highly sophisticated criminal gangs and criminal rings that can easily target our ICE enforcement officers. And the fact that the Democrats want to hand on a silver platter intelligence about our ICE enforcement officers and information tells you everything you need to know. But I do want to mention that marijuana facility raid, and that tells you everything about Gavin Newsom, the fact that he continues to vilify and demonize and attack our law enforcement officers when they actually went out and found that there were 10 children at that marijuana facility likely being exploited, potentially even being trafficked, because 8 of them were unaccompanied. We're trying to figure out how they got there. Were they smuggled? Were they human trafficked? And the fact that Gavin Newsom is trying to obstruct that is disgusting.
Yes, they were unaccompanied. They were trafficked. That is the whole definition of trafficking. They were working in a plant when they were far too young to work at. That is the whole definition of indentured servitude. And Tom Homan was having none of it. Check it out, because he was on Fox during this whole episode when Gavin Newsom was trying to make political hay against Trump, against the Trump administration, and against ICE. Meanwhile, basically hanging himself because this particular facility turned out to be enslaving trafficked children. Here we go.
Sure, you weren't making news there that an agent had lost his life, and that is, of course, the fear. But you talk about those politicians and the rhetoric that clearly seems to be fueling much of this, but you've also got some distortion of the facts. This was a post that California Governor Gavin Newsom put up yesterday. Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum. We later find out there were 10 juveniles in that operation, that were 8 of which were unaccompanied minors. What do you say?
I see this every day, and I said from day one, when President Trump became president, that they're going to vilify the men and women of ICE. They'll vilify the men and women of Border Patrol. They did it during the last administration, except this time, the rhetoric's at an all-time high. Every day I get up and I read the media posts at the White House, and 90% of the stories are just fake. They're lies. So, and people say, well, the polls are kind of turning against Donald Trump a little bit on immigration. First of all, I don't believe it. And if the polls turn it off, because all the fake news out there, they're lying about what the President Trump is doing. They're lying about what the men and women of ICE are doing. And that kind of turns, the tide against us a little bit. But that's why, members of the administration are out there every day setting the facts straight. The fact is, I read in the paper the other day, the majority of people who arrest are not criminals. Wrong. Look at the data. Go to ICE.gov and look at the data. But we got some media saying, well, it's just a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. They're not really criminal. Oh, they're not convicted. They're just charged. Oh, they're not criminals. No, we're prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats, and that's a fact.
But Tom,
Exactly. If Gavin Newsom didn't want ICE going to cannabis facilities or to Home Depots or anywhere else, he could simply let them into the jail where they can issue ICE, where they can actually arrest based on ICE detainers. They would walk into the jails. They would calmly escort these criminals out of the jail, straight to detention facilities, straight out of the country. No problem. But places like California and New York and Chicago and others are reaping exactly what they sow. They don't want to let ICE arrest these people in the prison. Fine. Tom Homan said it a dozen times in the lead up to the inauguration. He said, if they do not let us go into the prison, we will go into the community, and they will not like it, because when we go into the community, we will cast a wide net, and anybody standing next to that criminal illegal alien is going to get scooped up. And if they're here illegally, they're gone too. So you are reaping what you sow, Gavin Newsom. And now come to find out you are complaining about ICE when in fact ICE were there ostensibly rescuing 10 minor children enslaved at that facility, 8 of them unaccompanied, clearly trafficked from somewhere. And so Gavin Newsom is standing up for the criminals, for the criminal illegals, and he's standing up all in for the traffickers. That's who Gavin Newsom supports. That's who supports him, because he is a globalist. The globalist cabal is alive and well. The deep state has not been destroyed. It's been damaged. Trump's got another 3.5 years to absolutely wipe it out, or at least set it up so that we can get another Republican in office in 2028 and maybe give them 8 years to completely wipe it out. But the deep state is absolutely alive and well, and it needs to be eradicated. But it's the globalist cabal that loves things like illegal immigration, criminal illegal immigration, the trafficking of children, and that's who Newsom is in for. And this did not go well. It certainly did not go according to plan. Really appreciate everybody being here. It's absolutely amazing that Donald Trump is not getting the credit for what he is doing right. I mean, this whole thing with the Epstein thing is a gigantic fumble. But in the meantime, Trump has actually had his DOJ and the FBI and ICE out there looking for these trafficked children, and they are finding them in dribs and drabs by the thousands so far. Not nearly enough, but they're getting them. They're finding them. ICE is doing a phenomenal job. Now, I want there to be more deportations. I want there to be 10,000 a day. If we could get to 10,000 a day, that's 3.6 million a year. By the end of the Trump presidency, we would have successfully deported about 13 million criminal illegals. That would reshape a lot of things. Between that and completely destroying the illegal funding mechanism of the Democrat Party, you take away half their illegal voting base, you destroy their funding mechanisms, and then you really start to eat away at the deep state. Trump has the opportunity to fundamentally change this country for the good. Now, the one thing he's got to get over, they got to go fix this Epstein issue. I believe Trump's on it. They've already talked about trying to meet FOIA requests with documents. Trump has listened to his base before. He listened to it on the whole COVID vaccine thing when he was out there touting it initially right after he lost the presidency in 2020. And people came up to him and he's like, "Why do people boo me at my rallies when I talk about the COVID vaccine?" His base had to tell him, because that thing is an abject failure. And now because it's being weaponized by Biden, it's being forced on everybody. So Trump stopped talking about it. By the same measure, the base needs to help Trump see the error of the Epstein thing and get him to actually push through, release everything, appoint a special counsel, and let's go after these human traffickers and the people who benefited from their being trafficked.